Hello everyone, this is the great Lord and Master Osiron, the Eternal, for another segment in the Osiron Tarot Spiral. But before I do that, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of a childhood friend's mother. My friend Johnny, his mom Donna, passed away either last night or this morning. And she, she was like, this goes back to when I was like 7, 8 years old, and she was our first Cub Scout den mother as well. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her refolding. And this is a picture of her right here. This is obviously later years picture of her, but that's a great lady, Donna. So I just want to acknowledge that because she was a great person. Okay, now, this is the Osiron Tarot Spiral. A lot of the information I'm going to cover here, I covered before, but I'm going to expound on it even more. Because the ending of this thing never really had a proper video made for it, because I sort of included the code that this reveals. I added that in another video. I put the axis here in a different video. So nothing was really in its proper place, so I'm going to fix that today. Alright, just a quick overview of what this is. This is the zodiac circle, okay? And this spiraling series of numbers around that is the tarot cards, starting with the Fool in the middle and using the cube geometry, which I explained in that video. It goes around, and what all these numbers are is the reduced numbers when you stack the tarot cards on top of each other. And what happens is it forms a very distinct code. And that code is over here. It's 136, 163, 199, 136, 163, 199, and then 136 to end it. Well, at the time when I made the second video of this, I didn't know what that code was, and then later on I figured out what that was. And here is what the code is. The 136, because every time you see the code 136 or 163, the last number cancels itself out with its opposing number. So in the case of 136, it cancels itself out with a 3 and turns it into a 9. And same thing with all of these. So what happens is you see the 136, but the 3 cancels out the aspect of the 6 with a 9, so it's only leaving the 1 and 3 in play to do its work. So it turns off what isn't used. So now in this case, when you add the 1 and the 3, that becomes 4. And then in the second part of the code you get 163, and then the 6 cancels out the action of the 3, turning it into a 9, and then what you have left is 1 and 6, and that turns into 7. Then when you add the 7 and the 4, that becomes 11, okay, and then that reduces to a 2. Now you should notice that this turns into the Pillar of Yakin on the Tree of Life. Either version, because that pillar never changes. But on the true tree, you can see the Tree of Life here, or the true Tree of Life. The 136 and all that action, just coincidentally enough, happens to be the Pillar of Boaz, 136. And then then the actions of that pillar turn into the Pillar of Yakin, which is 247. And you see that this is basically the Tree of Life in working real-time action. This is the code of creation. So the true Tree of Life and the Osiron Tarot Zodiac Spiral work hand in hand together. You'll also notice something interesting about that, is the 2 doesn't show up at all in the series of numbers that are revealed, because this actually reveals every number 1 through 9. Now what you can't see is the 5 and the 8 And what happens is, in the order of operation, in the order of progression from numbers, the first number you see is the 1, then the 3, then the 6, and that cancels to 9, and that becomes a 4. The next code is 1, the 6, the 3, it cancels with 6 to 9, and then it becomes 7, and then when you add the 7 and the 4, that becomes 11, then 2, and then if you add that 2 to the 3, it becomes 5, if you add that 2 to the 6, it becomes 8. And then that rounds out the entire series of numbers like that. But and then in total there's 13 steps. So you got 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, then the conversions of 4, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. Yeah, then it comes to something like that. But it really doesn't matter how many steps there are, but it depends how you look at it too. I mean, that's something that, But you're also going to notice over here, you're going to see a red line connecting these. I also explained this too, but again, that was lost in another video that may have never been seen. What this is an axis. You're going to see how all this reveals a really powerful secret in how the number 7 is a really important number too, because in these videos I've sort of haven't really expounded on the importance of 7 yet, and that is a very important material number. I mean, the 7 spectrums of light, 7's huge, but this really shows 7 in a lot of places, a lot of key important places. But you're going to see an axis here, and on the top of that axis, if you add, well, the bottom of the axis where it begins, if you add the 2 and the 1 of the tarot cards, the green numbers are the actual tarot cards, the numbers in the card space itself is the root of the stacking of the cards, and the black numbers on top are the combined totals. So if you add the card, the 1 and the 2, that becomes 3 for the bottom of the axis. Don't forget, these outer cards haven't been established yet. This is just the beginning. So 1 and 2 create 3, then it goes around, and if you add 7 and 8, that becomes 15, the devil, then 6, and that forms the axis with a 3-6 axis. Now if you keep going, and when it finishes up, and you add again these two houses that are both 10 and 11, that are both ruled by Saturn, all the numbers combined form a 1. So now if you take that 6 and add that 1 to it, then it becomes a 7. And as I've mentioned 1,000 times now in these videos, 7 is the blood of the body, or more accurately, the fluids of the body. And why is it I say that? Well, one of the reasons is card 7 of the tarot is the Chariot, and card 7 lands in Cancer. That's the cardinal water, and the cardinal signs of the zodiac belong to the queens of the tarot, which are feminine. That's the receptive onrush aspect of the element. Okay. And you're also going to notice something, that all of the cardinal signs are linked with the number 7 and 4. I'll start right in the beginning and see where it is. You see a 9 down here and a 4 up here. Well, what happens, and I've explained this before, but if you add all the tarot cards of this house, and then you add the tarot cards of this house, this becomes a 7, and this becomes a 2, and then when you add the 2 and the 7, it becomes 9. It's sort of how, this is in the morning when I'm making this video, so if I'm a little bit off, please forgive me. But so the 2 and the 7 become 9. And so we see the first link of 7 here. Now if you add 9, 10, 11, the reduced cards, that becomes 11 and 2. Over here, if you add the 6 and the 1 on this line, the 7 line, I explained the importance of this line here, but that becomes a 7. If you add the 4, it becomes 11. I'm sorry, 7 and 11 is what I meant to say. So we got the 7 here, 9, 10, 11, then 11. And then if you add the 6 and the 1, then add the 4, that becomes 11, again, which reduces to 2. Up here, the tarot card, the Chariot, lands here, and if you add the house of the 4, that becomes 11. And over here in Libra, that's the 7th house, and if you add the cards, the tarot roots, the card roots, that becomes 4 for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 again. So all of these have a link with 7 and 11. And again, we see the blood of the body and electricity, 2 and the 7. And if you watched the most recent video I made on the Yggdrasil and how that turns into a cube matrix, the Kundalini aspects, the 3 and 6 Kundalini aspects reside in the same spheres that are also occupied by the 2 and the 7. You have to watch that video to see what's going on. So we're seeing that here. And also another important aspect of this line here is the planetary axis. See, on this line, all the planets mirror each other, starting with Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and then the sun, the moon and the sun. And you see that down here. You see the 3 of the axis line. And the Saturn begins with its feminine aspect here with Capricorn, and then its masculine aspect of Aquarius here. And then Jupiter has its fucking feminine aspect in Pisces, and its masculine in Sagittarius. Mars has its masculine aspect in Aries, its feminine in Scorpio. Venus has its feminine in Taurus, its masculine in Libra. Mercury has its masculine in Gemini, and its feminine in Virgo. And then the alternated sequence, you can see it alternates, continues with the moon and the sun on the top. The moon is feminine and the sun is masculine. But there's also one interesting point about that. See, that's not exactly entirely true. See, the moon is feminine because that falls into the house that is feminine, that's occupied by the queens, the cardinal signs. But the sun, that we automatically assume is masculine, is actually lands in the cherubic sign of Leo. And that is androgyne. That's both masculine and feminine. Same thing with Saturn. When you look down here, the feminine aspect of Saturn is Capricorn, and then what I call the masculine aspect is Aquarius, but again, that's a cherubic sign, so it's really both. And that's the same thing with our human bodies. I'm a man, and then, there's obviously women and men, and they're two different things, but our bodies are actually, in both cases, feminine. The body is feminine, it's the earth, it's the material we use. So the masculine, all this is saying, I guess to make a long story short, is that the aspect of electricity or masculinity is an illusion. It doesn't exist without the feminine aspect of Kundalini to lead the charge. So the masculine aspect is the servant of the feminine, and the feminine aspect is really the eternal aspect of life. And the masculine, this matrix that we live in, is illusory. Basically, it's not. It's insubstantial. And this is what all this is saying. Because again, the 2 doesn't even show up until after the 4 and the 7 are created, and then the 2 shows up in the sequence of the creation of this thing. And the 136, 163 code precedes any of it. And again, so now when you look at the true tree of life here, it should make a lot more sense with what's really going on. See, this is the Kundalini pillar, this is the material matrix pillar. Boaz is the Kundalini pillar, and the material matrix is the Yakin pillar. So now when you see what the Jews do with their perverted tree of life, and they put the importance of the masculine, well, that's completely perverse, absolutely perverse. That's why I'm so vocal against what those people have done, because it's an abomination, it's blasphemous, it's Satanism, as I have explained a million times. So this here is what I call the axis of the Great Lord. And this is the axis, and the planetary aspects mirror each other on it. Because you'll see in astrology circles, a lot of astrology circles, people who don't really know what they're talking about, will call Pisces, they will say Pisces is ruled by Neptune, I think Scorpio's Pluto. But those are all secondary aspects. So if you're acknowledging Pisces, Jupiter rules Pisces first, then Neptune. And in the case of Scorpio, Mars rules Scorpio, then Pluto, if that's the one it is. But see, people, astrology and tarot have different layers of understanding too. There's a superficial carnival charlatanism aspect, where the people who engage in it really have no clue as to how powerful it really is. And then when you start digging and you explore, because this is all mathematical code, all the numbers, the 22, again, if you add the 6 and the 7 here, that becomes 13. If you add 9 to that, that becomes 22. If you play with the numbers of this, there's so much going on with the numbers. There's one really amazing thing I do want to point out, though, that I talk about, but I didn't add in the video for this. The scales of Libra. We've all heard that before, the scales of Libra. Well, you're going to notice something really amazing about that. The stacked totals in Libra come to 55, and then when you add the 11 to the next one becomes 66. So everything's completely balanced in Libra. The 2 5s are balanced, and the 2 6 are balanced in Libra. And then, then when you start adding all the numbers, then the 100 line, if you add the stacked total of 45 of Virgo to the 55 of Libra, that becomes 100. And then we've seen what happens with the 8 line when you add this 7 to that 1, and how I explained how the elements show up in the symbol with an infinity loop, going from Pisces to Aries to Libra to Virgo, and an endless infinity loop. And that also justifies the elemental order of the true tree, which is water, fire, air, then earth. See, after I made this video, the second video in this series, it was after that I discovered the secret of Da'ath, and then that which absolutely confirms that as being true, the elemental order. Water is first on the true tree, that is. So let me see if I got everything here. I just want to make sure, see if I did, because there's so much going to make. Again, there's just, if you play with the numbers, there's just some examples. If you add the cherubic houses, or the cardinal houses, or the any of these houses that they form, the way the numbers interact is just glorious. It just produces powerful things. And then even in the code itself, once you take out the 6 and the 3 here, because they cancel each other out, you're left with 13, which is death, and then 16, which is the Tower. Those are 2 powerful cards in the tarot. And even 13 and death, the 1 and the 3 combined to form 4, and 4 is a even masculine number, but the root of it, the heart of it too, is also feminine, because it's the materials of the body. And the Tower is 6 and 1, and that infuses into the blood of the body, but that's the action aspect of masculine. So even this aspect of the numbers have both masculine and feminine aspects interplaying with each other. What appears to be masculine is at its root feminine, and what appears to be feminine is at its root masculine. The spirit of the body, the spirit or Kundalini enters the fluids of the body first. That's why they call Qi steam. In China, Qi is called steam, because it flows through your body like liquid, like water. It infuses into the liquids of the body first. Your saliva is a powerful sexual elixir. your blood, even your urine, as I have explained. I hate that word, but just so you know what I'm talking about. Shivambu elixir is all the fluids of the body, the cerebrospinal fluid, the lymph, which is just blood, basically, used up blood, basically, what that is. So the fluids of the body are, the blood houses the spirit, and that is the chariot. And if you look in the Waite-Smith tarot card, the chariot, the figure in the chariot has red hair. Just to give you an indication of, see that tarot deck, the Waite-Smith tarot deck is the most popular tarot deck, but that's one of the best ones you could ever get because there's so many secrets hidden in those images. People take that deck for granted as being just a beginner's deck, which is fucking ridiculous. It's one of the most profound esoteric decks that has ever been created. It's just as good as Crowley's deck, if not better, in a lot of cases. It's great because those images, all the images tell a story. One of my favorites is the Four of Cups. People look at that and they have no idea what's really going on, but that's telling a powerful story as to the true tree of life, as the truth of the true tree of life. So this is that. This is the Osiron Tarot Spiral, the message of the blood, and showing how the Kundalini, the actions of the Kundalini pillar produce the pillar of Yakin. So the pillar of Yakin is nothing without this. Again, how important that is and how blasphemous the Jews are for doing what they did to that occult symbol. So, thank you for watching, and namaste.